There seems to be a lack of understanding sometimes about what it means to be royal and diplomatic. I believe in many ways Harry and Meghan have sort of muddied the waters about what it means to not only really be royal, but be diplomatic as well, because Prince William was the personification of diplomatic elegance as he met with Donald Trump at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. They apparently not only met at the cathedral and seemed to have a good interaction, they also went back to the British embassy where they had a further conversation. And people were like, I could see it in the comments going, oh, why is Prince William having to meet with Donald Trump? Oh, he must hate Donald Trump, doesn't he? Well, the honest answer is we don't know because Prince William is a diplomat. He is not paid, you could say, to have a personal opinion on a politician. He is paid to talk with every politician. And that difference is very stark when comparing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who I feel like are the epitome of gauche. When Donald Trump was there for the state visit back in 2019, Prince Harry looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Meghan Markle didn't even show up. So I feel like this is an important discussion to go into because people allow sometimes their personal politics to sort of sway their view on what royals do because royals are not paid to have a personal opinion on politics. They are paid to be heads of state. And it's important again to reiterate what exactly that means. And sort of a great counter as always, Harry and Meghan, because they always do the exact opposite of what royals do. So we're going to go into this, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic. I would love to have you back. I'm obviously still traveling. We'll be traveling for the next couple of weeks. I'm a week in to a 3-week trip. So very exciting because it's been at least the first couple. I've been to 3 countries in 7 days. That is quite a lot. So we are in Paris right now. I was going to go to the reopening of the Notre Dame, but both the weather was bad and I couldn't probably see anything. So I decided to enjoy it from the comfort of my hotel room. But before we go on, I wanted to give a shout out to Anna Lucia Diamonds. I am wearing my jewelry here. And I gotta point out, because obviously it's Christmas season. And if you're ever wanting a tennis bracelet, this is the 2 carat one. I just absolutely love this guy. It sparkles, it looks great. And I love just having this simple elegance of something that you can wear every single day. I do wear this all the time. I don't ever take it off. And so it's something that I can enjoy and that looks great and classic and elegant. And even though it's often bundled up in the cold because it is quite cold here, where I live, it's not as cold. So you do get to see it quite a bit. And when the sun shines and hits it, oh, it just sparkles amazingly well. So, guys, if you are interested in that, feel free to check out the link up above. Of course, it is Christmas time. So if you're thinking of a gift for someone, anything like that, feel free to look through what Ana Lucia offers because they have some amazing opportunities. So let's get into the crux of this video because as I was looking through the pictures of this event and how they were talking and stuff, I couldn't help but think, it looks like they're having a good interaction. So let's take a look at the video here from the Notre Dame de Paris, and not only Donald Trump with Prince William, of course, but him with all the royals who were there. So here's a video I took from The Sun. So we're starting off with Prince Albert here, and they're interacting, and then he meets Queen Matilda, and he gives Albert a little pat on the arm, and looks like he's making them laugh, which is very kind. Now, obviously, we don't know what they're saying, and people hate Donald Trump still, but this appears to be a very good interaction. And this is a great example of what royals do. They're not paid to dislike Donald Trump. They're not paid to stand there and roll their eyes at him and go, oh my gosh, can't believe I had to interact with Donald Trump. That's not their job. Their job is to put a great face forward for their government and for their people. And the way they do that is by being diplomatic and just looking over and just smiling and laughing and enjoying the conversation in the moment. Yes, you can have policy differentiations. You could have things that you don't like about him. But in this moment, this appears like a good interaction. So let's keep going. He meets and shakes hands with King Felipe, then Grand Duchess Maria Theresa and Grand Duke Henri. And I'm sure to a certain extent, Donald Trump has no clue who the 2 of them are in some ways because they are a very small country in this grand scheme of things. So you could argue that he's like, I don't really have to pay too much attention to them, but he is giving them a good greeting. And this is not like something I found it weird too that people on social media were like, oh, he's stampeding in there and everything. And like, no, they were on his way to his seat. It is diplomatic and protocol to sort of greet and talk to these people. Now, he gets to William. And then to me, this seems like a good interaction. Can't exactly tell what was said, but it appears good. It appears good. It feels like it's what it needed to be in the moment, which is just a exchange of pleasantries in the middle of a big ceremony. So then William and Donald Trump met later because, of course, the weather last night was terrible. It's not great today either, but it was pretty terrible last night. So here the two of them are at the British Embassy. And Donald Trump, ironically, his tie matches the room. I don't know if he planned that or not. But Prince William is there, and there was a couple of photographs taken of this because that is what is done. I found it quite weird. People were complaining they stood for photographs or had their photographs taken. I was like, oh, that's kind of how they do things, guys. Like, this is not out of the realm of any issue whatsoever. And so this seems to be, once again, a good conversation. And why is this so important? Because what royals do and how royals operate is they are soft diplomats. They're there to represent their country, and they're there to firm up relationships between their country and another country. In the case of the US and the UK, we are each other's, you could say, greatest allies. We share obviously a common history with being sort of an outpost, a colony of Britain. And so there's quite a close relationship between the two countries, not as close as some others, but still very close. And Prince William's job at this point is to be the face of the government. That's why he went. He was asked by the government to go. So he went. Obviously, his father had been there earlier this year, and his father's still dealing with his cancer treatment. So it made sense for Prince William to go. And so Prince William is there representing. That is incredibly important. And he's representing something bigger than himself. And that is how royals operate. They represent something so much larger, their history as a country. What I always enjoy when I come here to Europe is how many little pieces of history you learn. I was actually trying to find a restaurant, and I'd gone over to the Louvre, and I didn't go in because I went in last year, but I was like, okay, I kind of wanted to maybe get some history content while we're here. Of course, the weather is terrible, so I don't know how much of that I actually achieved because the weather's almost too awful to get anything outside, especially. But there was this little plaque on the side of a building right near the Louvre, and it basically said this was one of the gates into the city of Paris at some point. And Joan of Arc and Charles VII were trying to get through that gate during the Hundred Years' War, and it was protected by the English and the Burgundians. And so they were guarding it. The Burgundians kind of ended up becoming what is now Belgium, parts of the Netherlands, and Luxembourg as well. So they were not successful in taking this gate. But I found it so interesting because there's this plaque. There's actually a little sort of bust of Joan of Arc right above it. And it's just a reminder that every place in Europe has a deep history in one way or another, especially the major cities. And so when William comes to a place like France, since the English were holding the Louvre, or the area where the Louvre is, which was at one point a palace, at some point, he's actually representing that continuity of history in many ways. And so it doesn't behoove him to walk in there and go, well, I don't like Donald Trump, so I'm going to grin it and bear it. Maybe he felt that way, but I honestly think he should never feel that way. You should never feel that way because that might color how you interact with somebody. That's why I felt so frustrated to see so many people, not so many, but a decent amount of people getting huffed about why William has to be meeting with Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. And to put the idea in William's head that, he shouldn't like meeting with Donald Trump is wrong because he needs to be able to meet with anyone at any time, anywhere, because that is his job, is to be the soft diplomacy. Yes, harder ball things can happen with the prime minister because he has the ability to impact policy, but that's not William's job. William's job is to be that soft diplomat, to be sort of the smoothing of relations between two countries. That's the way royals operate. And it's actually really fascinating. And royals have always been like this in some ways because, yes, there's the force behind the throne, but there is also sort of that diplomacy and that schmoozing and everything that people do way back in the day as well. So William was 100% right to treat the interaction as he did. There's no reason for him to every time he shakes Trump's hand to go, and like wipe it off on his jeans. Terrible, terrible way to go about things because it doesn't matter what he thinks about him. Doesn't matter Donald Trump's history, anything like that. He is the future president of the United States and he should be treated like he's the future president of the United States. And that is exactly how William treated him. And again, I say bravo to William. So let's go ahead and as well watch a little bit of this interaction between the two of them as Donald Trump came in to greet William.
Oh, what a nice girl. He's a good man, this one. I'm warming up. We had a good time. He's a beautiful chair. Hello, everybody. He's doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So I thought this was a really good interaction. Again, part of getting the photograph taken is to sort of verify that this happened. This happens all the time when it comes to meetings of this sort. There's always a photographer there to get a little bit, then doors close, conversations happen. So William was there. He may have been tasked with sharing congratulations to Donald Trump on his victory. He may have been there to say, oh, let's work on this or that. He may ask about climate change, Ukraine, different things. Obviously, although under the direction of the government, and William again has a tough role here. He has to walk the careful line of allowing himself to be there a little bit, but also to be a voice for the people. And that's a hard balance to strike. Now, you could be like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who are very gauche, I would say, in my honest and very, very humble opinion, is that they come into everything with their own personal perspective and vendetta. Now, we don't know how Meghan would have interacted with Donald Trump had he been president and she had been still royal, because she was still on maternity leave when he came for the state visit. Now, I would argue, because it was on June 3rd, a week or two later, she was at Trooping the Color, that she probably should have gone. And the only reason she should have gone is that Donald Trump is the president of her home country. So I think even though it was just a month postpartum, it might have been good if she attended something very quickly. As far as I'm aware, she didn't attend anything. And the reason she didn't is that she doesn't like Donald Trump and she doesn't like his politics. And that seemed to cloud Harry a bit too. Now, it's hard to say exactly, but Harry didn't look super enthused to be there for part of the state visit. He might have been forced. Man, I wish I had his book handy because it'd be interesting to see what he said in his book about Donald Trump. So we may have a little bit of indication of how Prince Harry interacted. So we have this thread from Emily Andrews. This is way back during the state visit when Donald Trump came in. And so it seems that, at least for a part of the time, although it's not shown here, there are pictures of Harry and Ivanka kind of together. But then it goes and says that Prince Andrew and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester were part of the party and were helping to show Ivanka and Jared around. And then who do you have in the background here, seeming ignoring everyone? Why, that's Prince Harry. Not very diplomatic of him, is it? In fact, it is rather gauche. And then she goes on to say, Prince Harry, who was also at the private lunch, noticeably hung back. He walked in with Ivanka. Was he supposed to show her around the exhibition? Or maybe they sat next to each other at lunch and then drifted off to talk to Lord Chamberlain Earl Peel. Now, this again is incredibly gauche. Yes, Donald Trump, you could say, was very undiplomatic in saying that he thought Meghan Markle was rather nasty in an interview. You could say that. But I think he was maybe, if I'm remembering correctly, responding to something she had said initially. But Harry's job in this moment is not to have a personal reaction, is to put his personal reaction behind and deal with Donald Trump and the Trump family in that moment. Nothing more, nothing less. And this is gauche. It's letting his personal emotions dictate his actions. Because what he could have done, which would have been smarter and better, is to, yes, have that interaction you could say was not so pleasant, or to be frustrated by Donald Trump's sort of response about his wife. But then guess what Prince Harry could do? He could charm. He could go up, have a great talk with Donald Trump, act like nothing is wrong. And actually, that might even change Donald Trump's perspective on Meghan Markle. You would be surprised sometimes. Now, I don't always achieve this because I have my traveler moments, but you would be surprised how great a response you could get when you're just very friendly, very kind, very, you could say, accommodating. I had lunch down close to my hotel, or dinner, I guess. And it was a pizza place. And the guys next to me were complaining because they were being really picky and particular about their food, but they didn't speak French. And I'm like, you can't be picky about your food and be in a different country and expect things to go well. I'm sorry. If you're trying to be so complicated about everything, it's just going to confuse people whose first language is not English or your language. So you just have to be generous. And so I was just like there chilling, and it seemed like the waitress, she like really liked me. She was like, she just thought, I guess I was chill or something. I don't know. Or maybe I was an American and she thought, oh, she'll give me a tip. Isn't that awesome? Either way. But I was just accommodating. I was easy because I understand their ways are not my ways. And I can be a little bit of a, you could say, a diplomat for Americans by acting a particular way and making sure that I put my best face forward. I tried to do the same when I was going about for the state visit in Denmark. I'll do the same when I do the state visit in the Netherlands. I'll try to be very diplomatic, very kind, very generous. And not that I'm like, not like that other times either. But there is a moment where you really have to put whatever personal thoughts you have behind and deal with something in the moment. Prince Harry could have his complaining session with Meghan Markle later. But in this moment, Harry, it doesn't matter what Harry thinks about Donald Trump. In this moment, he should have acted like a diplomat. But one of the things I think Meghan Markle did, which is a very much a disservice to Harry, is that I feel like she heightened his emotions a lot because he's very emotional anymore. Now, it's not that he cries on cue or anything like that, but I feel like every response he has to something is emotional. Like, I have to beat them. I have to hold them accountable. All the kids are dealing with this crazy stuff online and I have to fix it. Like he's developed this a very emotional response and very self-centered. You can't really be that self-centered and be a diplomat. Yes, you have to get your way, but you have to see things from every angle. You have to be sort of a Machiavellian type figure. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's that you have to know, though, how to interact with different people in a productive way and not be somebody who can't put that face forward. And I don't know how Meghan Markle would have reacted if she had been asked to attend the state visit, but if she declined attending just because she didn't like Donald Trump, I mean, that's horrific. Like, that is so not her job because her job is not to have an opinion. But Megan is somebody who seems to think her opinion is the end all be all, and her opinion rules. Her opinion on everything rules. But that's just not helpful. It's not helpful in the world that they were in as royals. And I don't think it's particularly helpful now because we see them try to be sort of pseudo diplomats. I call it being a cosplay royal. Like they went to Colombia, and the reason was sort of inexplicable because apparently the vice president of Colombia thought this was a good idea to invite them there. But Harry and Meghan are going there to offer nothing. They can't be diplomats. They can't have great influence because they are nothing. They have no influence except to generate media headlines. And so, because of that, when they go in there, I feel like they're doing a massive disservice in so many ways to everyone by by going along with the charade. But the only reason Megan did that and to act like a quote unquote diplomat is because she got to be the star. She got to be the one to talk at people. She can't be a diplomat because she needs to talk at and lecture people. She can't listen. She can't react. Now, granted, people can have their opinions on Donald Trump. That's neither here nor there. He, I think, enjoyed his time being in the United Kingdom with the royal family. I'm sure he would love to do another state visit. There might be another state visit with Donald Trump because there's usually one for every US president. It's actually a big surprise that there wasn't one for Joe Biden. I mean, it could have been, I mean, obviously there are a variety of reasons, the Queen's death, you got COVID and everything, but usually every president gets a state visit. And so I imagine Donald Trump will have another one because we have a new king. Now, if it was still with Queen Elizabeth, that wouldn't be the case. But there will still be another one. Why? Because this relationship is important. Why does every US president get a state visit? Because this relationship is the most important one the UK holds in many ways. And Prince William, I think, was the perfect epitome of diplomatic elegance as he met with Donald Trump. I'm sure he has his opinions. I'm sure there's things about Donald Trump he doesn't like, but it's not his job to show it. But of course, Prince Harry can't keep the act together. He falls completely apart because it is all about him. Meghan Markle and him, they are completely self-obsessed. So their thoughts and opinion matter more than just about anyone else's. But as a royals, you're not paid to have an opinion. in many ways, especially on politics. You are paid to be a diplomat, you are paid to be politically neutral. And that is exactly what Prince William did. And bravo to him. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.